person dropped
And
off.
we're supposed to be
If
investigating.
that was the case, it should still be on the flash drive. Even if we didn't have the physical document.
No,
it should
here's
still
the
be on
catch.
flash
You
drive.
didn't catch what I said.
No.
It's like okay, you're working on it, and then you're not working on it anymore, and then they send me in. I pick up where I think you left off, and something gets missed. That's what I'm saying. Could have possibly, I'm not trying to come up with some weird theory, but it wouldn't be the first time that's happened. I think Justin knows, because when one law firm to another, they go to pick up, and they go back and they look over the previous just to make sure that they're picking up at the right spot and they didn't overlook something. And I got a sneaky suspicion that,
And the clerk probably didn't look through the flash drive when he got it back. He had 60 days to look over that flash drive.
yeah, well, that's, and here's the thing, I can't fix yesterday. But the one thing we can work on is finding the answers and fixing today.
And I
I
do
believe.
wanna, I appreciate your candor. If you say you don't have it, I understand you're saying that you can't find it. What actually sticks in my craw with this is the fact that it's $1,600. We'll keep looking. Give us $1,600, 60% of that up front. That's completely wrong. That's completely wrong. To take 60% of $1,600 so that we can go on a wild goose chase that you guys are right here saying that you don't think it exists. Why would the supervisor, without board approval, make that kind of a decision? That is extortion to me, and I think it's wrong. Absolutely wrong. The people should not be in a position where they ask for information that we're required by law to have, and instead of being honest, we're just going to put this gigantic price tag on it. That is so wrong.
So, we need to keep looking, and I hate to use the word revisit, you've heard it twice already, but I don't think we really have a choice, but we gotta keep looking, and if we find absolutely Zippo, then we have to arrange for a meeting to where the documents that are in said person's possession could be copied and notarized of their authenticity, and then they need to get added into the record. Because if it's, sin, wrong's wrong. And so I think that's the only way to really, truly try to fix this.
Well, it
I see
doesn't
somebody
just
moving his
affect,
lips back there.
it doesn't just affect this property. We've already had 3 different properties mentioned tonight. How many properties did this actually affect that were apparently, it was not done appropriately from what we can find? How many people lost some of their uses of their property because of the actions that took place at the same time? It's not just about Pat's, it's not just about dockets, it's not just about Eddie's, it's about, X
Systemic.
number, yes, exactly,
Well,
systemic.
there's
It's X
hundreds.
number of properties.
I can prove with that flash drive, there's hundreds. And I
If we
mean it when
can
I say
lock
hundreds.
down a time period, then we know what we're looking at versus 150 years. You know what?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and to be brutally honest, I mean, you being a PC, you already know this, but I'll say it so everybody hears. When a designation is removed, a property has to have some zoning. You just can't have a property with no zoning. So I would start with the meeting minutes to look at, see when public hearings are, because at least you might be able to get a data point on where to narrow the scope. But to go to what Trustee DeShano said, nobody would actually lose their use. It would be deemed illegal, non-conforming use. If zoning gets changed or use gets changed, it happens all the time in commercial as well.
Yeah,
But to answer the question, every single property that was zoned C3 would actually be affected by this. I don't know how many of the properties that is, but every single property zoned C3.
And each of those parcels would have had to have their own public hearing, right?
No,
Yes.
they can do it. They can do it in bulk. Everybody affected would have gotten a notice. But like I said, I would start with the meeting minutes to see if you can get a data point to see when was there a public hearing.
I think this is a big enough issue that this needs to be looked into to do the right thing. Not just say, well, eek, we don't have it. If you want us to keep looking, it's gonna cost you this much money. I think that there should be some scruples to say, clearly something happened that should not have happened, even if it wasn't the responsibility who is currently, the people that are currently in these seats. There still needs to be an impetus to do the right thing, to figure out what happened and to make sure that the outcome is fair for people. And I apologize, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I know it's not public comment, but, I've sit through a lot of these meetings, and I sit very quietly. You all know I have opinions, and I'm very quietly. We have people up here, we may like, we may not like, and we've spent an hour and a half talking about the past and digging for information. And we've spent about 30 seconds on Lori's request for how do we, going forward, fix this problem with record keeping and computers and stuff. Now, I completely understand where all the FOIAs are coming from. There have been some transparency issues, and people are obviously concerned about that. In a way, I understand what the board's doing by trying to put prohibitive costs on them to take maybe superfluous FOIAs out. Not saying any of these are. I understand where these are coming from. The fact of the matter is we spent this whole meeting tonight looking backward, and no one of our elected officials or our paid employees are looking ahead. We're not fixing this road. We're not talking about the long-term issues. We're not talking about the Linwood Point. We're talking about what happened 10 and 20 years ago, and it's all because of transparency. So how do we fix the processes? Not putting any shade on anything we're doing now, but hopefully as taxpayers, we all want someone to move forward instead of trying to figure out what's happened 10 and 20 years ago. And I agree with Lori that we do have to fix some of these maybe gross injustices, but that can't be all we do. And I feel for the people that have to handle these FOIAs, but some of it's been brought on ourselves by lack of transparency, but we've got to start looking forward at some point. That's all. I'm done.
Thank you for your comment. And your name again? It's got to go in the record.
Not public.
I'm sorry about
Not
that.
public comment.
Okay.
But we gotta know what we're doing with numbers, with the appeal of 2024-1. I need another motion.
Someone needs to go through. I think Justin made a good point and review all the public hearing records. Go back to approximate date that we're hearing the date the rezone took place, and see if we can find a public hearing that talks about it. That's about. And I know you've been looking and looking and looking. That's the only thing I can think of. And if we can't find nothing, then I guess, like I said, we would have to request the one person who has documents in a safe to go get them copied and notarized for their authenticity.
It doesn't have to be notarized. Self-notary is authenticating a signature. I mean, if she brought it in and you guys allowed her to actually not let that document leave her hand.
I don't know
You
if
could
she's bring it in.
Well, no, but you could tell her that you could do that, and she could use the township copy machine and say, hey, it doesn't even have to leave your hand if you're concerned about it being lost.
So just out of curiosity, when somebody does warrant the zoning and the uses as part of their deed when it goes into a trust, doesn't that lock it in? How is somebody able to go into a trust and change the zoning
Yeah, so the
on
trust.
a deed? It is warranted, it is locked in a trust. How does that even happen? Because it seems to me that if this was properly done, then somebody would have come forward and said, whoa, 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 this isn't a trust. You can't just go willy-nilly changing my uses and my zoning. So why wasn't the opportunity presented for that to happen? That's more concerning because it's probably not the only one in a trust.
But that's not how this works, though. I mean, all you're doing is warranting it at the time of conveyance.
So what happened 2 days after you conveyed it doesn't matter.
From your own personal liability perspective.
So, my motion would be to continue the research on this matter. And we are, at this time, not charging an exorbitant $1,600. That's my motion.
So what are we charging? I mean,
At this point, we want to set the record straight to know, so this would be a work on it when you're not occupying another issue.
But you still have to make a decision on the FOIA. You can still make a motion after the fact to say, hey, as board action, we are making the motion, and then there's no charge.
Well, then I'll make the motion that there, at this point, since we don't even have the record, we're not charging for it. If we have to seek it out, because if we're charging for it, then we better be paying the people that are bringing the documents. And since those folks will probably share those with us and not charge us, then we shouldn't be charging for it. We need to set the record straight. The record needs to be clear, not foggy. So, my motion would be changed to state that we are not charging, but we will research to find how the zoning was changed from C3 to I1.
But you still have to
Don't
make
we
a
have
vote
to
on the
appeal?
FOIA.
Yeah.
So you have to vote on the appeal, and then afterwards, you can say, I make a motion that we still dedicate township resources to this.
Well, folks, someone make an appeal, or make a motion. I don't think I have to make everyone.
The motion first to continue research, that's.
No,
He's saying we gotta do a motion about the FOIA appeal.
Yeah, so you have, so everybody has to vote on whether they have personal knowledge that this stuff exists here at the township, or they have it in their own physical possession.
Well, then we really didn't do that on the other two.
I thought the vote on the other two was to bring it back.
Yes.
This sounds like the vote is to do the research and not charge.
Well,
That's a separate
okay,
issue.
the motion. for that
Okay,
other-
wait a minute, I'll fix the whole thing. I rescind my previous motion according to Robert's Rule of Order, and we'll go right back to the first square. The first square is we will revisit this next month. We will revisit this after spending time researching for the documents. If in 2 weeks we cannot find said documents, we will contact the taxpayer who has the documents in her possession, and we will ask for a meeting here, like what happened a few weeks ago with an individual to set the record straight and then get the necessary copies made so that if we don't have the record, we can create the record legally. Anybody like to second my motion?
Anybody want to repeat it?
It's recorded.
I'm gonna second that.
It's recorded. Roll call.
Just apologize in advance, really, those were really long motions.
Okay, Cruz. Class,
Yes.
DeShano,
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes. The next item on the agenda, postage meter. Molly is sick, she did the research, and this will be moved to the May meeting. Anybody like to second that?
Do we have time? And when's the contract up on the old one?
She said today. that
Oh,
she's working
okay.
on it.
We have time.
Yeah, so we have time if we wait till she's here to talk about it.
Okay. And so that fixes this piece of her request of different meters. So let's see here. Next is, my favorite subject. Okay. To whom it may concern, Wolverine Fireworks is applying for a display fireworks permit. Oh, did you have to do it? Oh, all in favor of talking about the last item before I talk about this one? Say yay.
All in favor
Aye.
of tabling until May. Say aye.
Okay,
So
Sorry,
there you
he did
go.
jump.
I
He was
just
excited.
realized that I did a mistake.
and who made that motion to table it?
He did.
Me.
And
I'll-
who seconded
I
it?
guess I'll second it.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
So,
Aye.
Wolverine Fireworks is applying for a display fireworks permit for May 4th of 2024 at the Hawthorne Township Hall for a daytime firework demonstration training session. We will be doing the hands-on portion of the class between 1 and 4 for about 1 hour. There will be no audience, only students, using proper PPE and following the directions of the instructor.
It doesn't say anything whatsoever about cleaning up their mess, which is what didn't happen the last time. So, if we were going,
And I personally walked through cardboard back there from their last fireworks display today. So I'm still not happy because I was lied to and told, it's all cleaned up. It's not cleaned up.
and there's absolutely no contingency here for them to clean up the
And
mess from shooting off all these shells.
And who paid for that? Who paid for the cleanup? Did Wolverine come and do it on their own? Or did us taxpayers pay for that cleanup?
I personally do not know that. And
Well, somebody must know that.
I personally have no idea. All I know is I turned in the complaint that I found wires and a 5-inch shell unexploded laying in the back, and I said, I don't consider that a safe place for kids to be able to go. You'll lose your fingers.
And brand new pickleball and tennis courts with all kinds of debris on them. Burn marks and stuff like that, but that's okay.
Well, you'll be happy to
You know
know
how
that the
much work-
pickleball's right in the middle of the discharge site.
How much work went into those pickleball courts? Free labor, my wife and I, and to have somebody come and blow fireworks off right alongside of them? That's pretty disheartening. That's a disgrace. That's a slap right in your face. And even then, he expects you to come back here and work for him when he
Yeah.
does that to you?
They're planning to light off 200 of these 3-inch display shells.
I would get one hell of a deposit down for if it's not brought back to
I don't
normal.
I don't even see anything about them being charged for doing this on our property.
They just paid for a permit.
$500 or $1,000
$50.
So a $50 permit, they're gonna shoot off 200 shells in the middle of the day, leave a mess in our yard. Since they never cleaned up after it the last time, they pay no rental fee whatsoever, and it's on public property.
And baseball fields that kids go and play in. Playgrounds that kids go and play
You
in.
know, I hear your disgust. I have pictures of my disgust, and I'm making a motion to say no.
Good.
Because I'm not showing up here to have wires, shells, and cardboards laying all over the back. I walked through them when I went to do stuff at the soccer to measure those nets so we could come up with the true price.
And they did it at night, the wind was blowing, they were flying all the way up into our parking lot, potentially on the roofs of our building. So I will second that motion to say no. And we can give them a refund of their $50 permit.
We may need to talk to the fire department about them now, because I'm pretty sure that these actually don't go through us anymore, they go through the fire department.
Well,
It's
there's
our
a problem.
property.
We own the park.
Right.
Well, no, I agree, I'm just letting you know, we should probably need to let them know too.
Yeah. Well, I don't have a problem letting them know.
Well,
In
there's-
fact, I had Kurt come over the very night of the set-off when I watched sparks falling on the roof of the town hall because the winds picked up. And they just kept blowing these stupid things off. And I have pictures of it. If someone wants to call me a liar, I'll prove the honesty of it.
Okay, so here's the thing, it's one thing for the fire department to be responsible for issuing permits for people to light off fireworks on a personal property or a commercial property where somebody has an agreement with them. A public property, a municipal property should never just go through the fire department, that should always go through the board because we own it and we're the representatives elected by them who actually own it. So it should always come through the board, and if we need to make a motion to that effect, I think we should. There's a motion on the floor.
Okay, only because I think they've been doing this for years here, is it an option where we can call them and say, hey, if it's not cleaned up after this time, then you will not be able to do it here anymore, or no?
At this point, there's a motion on the floor.
Okay.
Don't they rent your hall?
They did at one point.
I say they rent the hall and provide training to your fire department, just so you know.
You know what?
It was a big.
I'll show you the pictures.
Oh,
And when you have wires that are gonna wrap all over your blades, I don't know what happens if a lawnmower hits a 5-inch shell. But I don't think it's anything good, because it's got gunpowder in it.
Right.
You know,
They were
and I
supposed
found
to-
all these pellets and things laying all over, and then I was told it was no big deal. I still have the exhibit bags with what was inside of it, because I took the bags out of my vehicle that I collect evidence in, and I put them in it, because I couldn't believe what I was actually seeing with my eyes, and I knew I'd be called a liar.
Well, that's not typically, I've known Artie for 20 years and had my license for 20 years. That is not typical of this company, I can tell you that, Charlie.
Well, they used to do them over at the Pickle Festival, but when we did them at the Pickle Festival, we had to fire the fireworks off over the fields. We were not allowed to fire anything over the school's property, because they didn't want no type of debris field on their property. I mean, we've got a farmer over here on that side, we got farmers over there on that side. You want to organize in our parking lot, I don't have an issue. You want to just come out here and fire stuff off and leave and call it a day, while you got somebody with his little RW car racing around, ripping up the baseball diamond while the fireworks are going off, and then somebody says, what happened to the baseball diamond? I got it all recorded.
I know, I'm just saying, you know, maybe if we call them and say, this is what we expect, and give them a chance to make it right, and if they don't make it right, say, you know, okay, that was it.
Who's gonna enforce
They used to
that?
fire them off at Tri-City Speedway, the Tri-City,
My uncle used to rent
right there on 8 Mile and
for that.
Wilder Road.
This is not an open field. We have ball diamonds that you pay money to do upkeep on.
We gotta
We
come play
have a
park.
playground. We have a pickleball court that has been getting used, that you guys paid for the materials to do it, and luckily the Wegners were nice enough to donate their labor to create that area for the citizens of this township.
That people
That was
used
not
every day.
respected. It was not respected, and when it was brought up that there were issues, I'm just gonna be blunt, because I was part of that whole email string. And essentially trustee Campbell, for bringing this up, was treated horribly by another elected official just for bringing this to the forefront. That this is what was left, and this is unacceptable, and we have people that use this park, and this isn't right. And was told that it would be cleaned up, and it was not.
And
I
it's
think Class has a good point, though, to give them a chance. Designate the back old ball field that's not used, give them wind directions, your fire marshal can dictate all this stuff. Instead of burning a bridge with well, they don't pay taxes, but some of their owners live in our township and pay taxes. And several of their employees live in this township and pay taxes. Give them the chance, I mean, and I think your guys' residents, I've been to them every year they've done them here. Our parking lot's full, residents appreciate it evidently
Well,
because
this
the
is
parking
during the
lot's
day,
packed.
so I don't
You
know.
require them to pay a deposit, and they would get their deposit back
It's
after
easy.
it's cleaned up?
I'll amend my motion, they can put $1,000 deposit down. And if they don't
Gives them a
clean
chance,
it up,
Charlie.
what?
It gives them a chance.
I'll amend it, but they will put down $1,000 cash
For
deposit.
damage and cleanup.
I think you should dictate in that motion where they're to be lit off, if you're concerned about the pickleball courts and nothing else.
Yeah, I don't want the pickleball courts to look anything like they did last time. They're welcome to call me, they're welcome to come look at the pictures. They're welcome to see what I'm talking about. And someone says, oh, that's no big, it's a big deal. I sat in that parking lot and I watched it, and that was a big deal when I seen literal fireworks that weren't going up as high as they should and drifting right across the top of the town hall. And they just kept doing it.
That's pickleball right there.
So
That's
you're
the
going
district
to,
side. It's right in the center.
well, first I had a motion to deny Wolverine use of the Coquitlam
Oh, I
Township
should
Park.
rescind my first motion.
And then you amended, and so you will allow Wolverine use of the Coquitlam Township Hall and Park with $1,000.
No, they can use the park.
Not the hall.
Not,
Oh, there was no request to rent the hall. It was just for,
oh, this
Never
is training just outside.
it looked like.
Outdoor
yeah.
daytime training, so they say.
Okay.
Trustee Campbell, did you also want to include, subject to township approval of the location? Because there would have to be somebody that the board would designate, whether it's the fire, maybe the fire marshal, or somebody who's here all the time to be able to say, hey, this, based on where the winds are, this is where it needs to go this year.